All right, I gotta be honest with you. When a product gets this much hype, my first reaction is skepticism. As you all know, I am acutely aware of the vast marketing forces at play in the hunting product industry. Another reason this video has been a while in the making is that, as those of you who follow me will know, I completely moved away from shooting off of a bipod. Now there's a ton of good reasons why I'm coming back to shooting off of a bipod, and maybe I should do a whole video on that topic, but I don't want to dive into all those details now. But when I did come back to shooting off of a bipod, I looked at 3 or 4 of them, and I was actually at the shooting range, and my buddy had the Tricer. And when I first saw the Tricer on somebody else's rifle, it had the big long legs on it. They were spread really far apart, and it just immediately did not seem like something I would like. However, when I saw his and started playing with it, a few things jumped off the page at me right away. So I ordered one, and I've probably had it for at least the last 4, maybe 5 months. In that time, I have gone to Mexico, shot a Coues deer at 698 yards with this bipod, and I've also done a long-range shooting course with Kalen from Modern Day Sniper, where I shot over 350 rounds out of this gun set up just the way it is right now with this bipod on it. So I feel extremely confident that I've put this bipod through enough testing that I can give you a review that you can count on. All right, let's dive into some of the details in particular for this bipod. So the list price is $350 USD, and that is actually an extremely affordable price when you think about what this bipod comes with. So it comes with a set of legs that you see on it right now. It also comes with a set of much longer legs. So the short legs that are on it right now go from a minimum length of 5.5 inches all the way to 12 inches. And the long legs go from 11.5 inches to 30 inches. It comes with the Picatinny rail attachment that I've got on this, but it also comes with a separate Arca attachment. As far as weight goes, the setup you are looking at right now is 10.6 ounces, and if you put the long legs on, it comes out to be 14.5 ounces. One of the things you will note is that the weight of this bipod puts it in a rather interesting category. I wouldn't call it a heavy bipod, and I wouldn't call it an ultralight bipod. I would call it more of like a hybrid light bipod. 10.6 ounces is not particularly heavy. For what this bipod weighs in at, I think it punches above its weight class. The stability and the quality of the build and how tight it is all fabricated together, it feels like a much heavier, much more expensive bipod. So I've done a lot of other videos on bipods, specifically looked at the MTN backcountry, the Spartan, and the Gunwerks. You can go look at that video right here. Now, one of the things with all 3 of those bipods is that there was notable play in the joints. Some of the bipods had more play than others, and no matter what I did, I could only get them so tight. One of the things that just jumps off the page with the Tricer is how little play there is in all the joints and how incredibly smooth all the movements are. So now that we have a better idea of what this thing costs and what you get when you buy it, let's jump over to the Workbench and see how it's actually put together. So when I was at the gun range and I went to shoot off my buddy's gun that was mounted on one of these bipods, the thing that jumped right out at me was how solid all of the joints were. When you are in the lightweight end of the spectrum for bipods, almost all of them are plagued with a certain amount of slop in the joints. It's just a function of using lighter materials and, smaller bolts and screws and all the rest of it. And the thing that blew my mind with the Tricer is there was literally, you can see it here, there is literally zero movement, nothing shakes, no noises. I'm only going to hold this right up to our microphone. There's nothing. Every single joint is extremely solid and tight. The one caveat I want to make on this is that I have had a couple reports from individuals who did not experience the same tightness of tolerances. In fact, one guy said his had a lot of slop. So maybe that was a one-off, maybe the QC is not amazing. I will tell you this, if you get one and it has slop, exchange it, because maybe the bolts didn't get quite tightened enough, because this is certainly not the experience that I've had with mine. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is there's a bit of controversy surrounding the panning function on the tripod. In that, there's a fairly large segment of shooters that believe a bipod should not be able to pan because you are going to inappropriately point the recoil force off the center line of the rifle, which is going to reduce the accuracy of your shooting process. So you always want your bipod to be perpendicular to your rifle when you shoot. So other people believe you should have, like, what if you want it? What if it's a moving target? What if you're looking to pan while you shoot? In predator hunting, you need a lot of mobility in your rifle. So for that purpose, when you open up this lever, you can then pan the rifle from left to right. The one issue is that there's only one adjustment lever, and it's going to open up your pan, but it's also going to open up your cant. And so you need to recognize that it's introducing a lot more freedom of movement in all directions, not just pan left and right. I will say that for the most part, when you have this thing locked down reasonably tight, after you've adjusted your cant so that your rifle is level, I have not experienced any unwanted movement from left to right. However, what I have noticed a couple times is that maybe I didn't have the pan locked in completely perpendicular before shooting. And after a practice session, I got up and realized I was 10 to 15 degrees off axis for the entire shooting session. So the note that I would make to the users is just take a second and make sure that your bipod is perpendicular to the barrel of your rifle before shooting. And then one final note is just the direction of the twist locks on the legs. I did a review on a Tricer tripod where I claimed the legs spun backwards, and Drew from Tricer was not very pleased with that and kind of came out with a retort video, which is fine. That didn't bother me. Here's all I'm going to say. I'm not sure which way is right. I'm not sure which way is wrong. Tricer legs do spin in the opposite direction from what most major legs do spin in. Is this a deal breaker? Not at all. But the first couple times you go to use it, you will find yourself like, oh, right, I have to go this way to open instead of the way that you're used to. And I just like to say that just so you're prepared for it. Again, not a deal breaker. Overall, the locking function on these legs is very solid, very sturdy. It's got these rubberized grips here, which do a great job of giving you a solid grip. The other note I will make is that there is a set screw in the back of the tripod leg right here. And I didn't have those tight at first. And when I went to loosen the tripod, I would actually start unscrewing the bipod leg from the bipod itself. But then once I realized there was a set screw, that clamps the leg into place, and you can apply lots of force to open this up and lock it back down, and the bipod leg doesn't move anywhere itself. So now that we've had a look at how it's built, let's go take a look at how to use it. I'm so confident that I've crafted the best performing sock for backcountry hunters that's available on the market today, that I've put together the most insane giveaway I have ever done. And this is not one of those giveaways that you see from everybody else where they went and convinced a bunch of other companies to give stuff. This is me giving directly to you. So for every $5 you spend at forgedinthebackcountry.com, and that even includes the new camo version of the forged base boxers that I just released, you will get one entry to win a custom guided hunt from Mindful Hunter Outfitting. And I am going to work with the winner to build the hunt of your dreams. We could go after black bear or mule deer in British Columbia. We could go chase mule deer with our bows in Alberta, or we could go to my leases in Mexico and hunt Coues deer in the rut with a rifle. I am extremely passionate about delivering phenomenal gear to backcountry hunters. And I truly believe that with the forged base series socks, I have brought something unique and new to the market. I feel very strongly that you're gonna love this product, and I cannot wait to share the hunt of a lifetime with one lucky winner. Good luck. So one of the things I really like about the Tricer Bipod is how versatile it is and how many different ways you can move it, and you can adjust all of those while being in the gun. Sometimes when you're walking, you don't want these legs coming up to the front of your barrel. Well, if you just loosen this, you can quickly spin this around and carry them to the back of your barrel with almost no adjustments at all. Super quick, super easy. So now that I've illustrated that, let's get into the gun and see how I tend to operate it. Now, the reason I wanted to come down into this position was to actually show how I interface with this bipod when I'm shooting. One of the things I noticed when I shot that Coues deer, there's always the potential that you're gonna have to make last minute adjustments. And if you have to come out of your shooting setup in order to make those, you have to get resettled in all over again. So let's just go over some of the functionality. So there's this one lever facing you that if you open it, essentially opens up all the movement of the head. You can cant to the left or the right, and you can also pan it to the left or the right. What I like to do is when I get relatively close to my final shot, I will tighten this maybe 70%. I don't like to completely crank it down because in case I need to make a little bit of movement, and it just leaves my gun a little more dynamic and I'm not as locked in. So that's how I adjust the cant. Now, when you adjust height, you have two options. You can open your legs and extend them or retract them, but you can also, with the touch of this button, come out and splay or in and splay. And if you wanted to go even lower, you can still adjust this, and you can even move both of these out to get even lower. The fact that it has so many different angles you can adjust, and the fact that you can adjust them all while being in your shot sequence is really attractive to me. And again, what I'd like you to notice is that it is extremely stable. There's no wiggle. If you want it a little bit tighter, you just bring in this lever right here, adjust your bubble, crank it down, and then get yourself into your gun and take your shot. I think I've shot somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 rounds with this bipod, and it hasn't opened up at all. None of the joints have become loose. It's been very impressive. All right, let's talk final thoughts and conclusions. And let's get a little philosophical for a moment, because the interesting thing about having reviewed gear as long as I have, lots of times I will come out and say, this is the piece of gear I use, and then a year later you use a different piece of gear, and people are like, why? You get all these questions, and maybe you don't have the freedom to evolve that you used to. So yeah, I went through a period where I was using a bipod a lot. And when I reviewed the MTN gear, the Gunwerks Elevate, the first generation, and the Spartan, the Gunwerks Elevate came out on top because I thought it provided the best combination of stability, versatility, and cost. Then I went through a period where I didn't shoot with a bipod at all, and I thought the best thing to do was shoot off bags, off your backpack, and a bunch of other stuff. Then through some testing, I found that just wasn't producing the level of accuracy I wanted, or there was room for improvement, let's just say. And then I got introduced to this bipod. And I will tell you that right now that from all the bipods I have tested, for price, functionality, ease of use, build quality, basically across all the domains, this is, for me, the best bipod that's on the market right now. The fact that you get two completely different sets of legs and you get two completely different mounting systems, Picatinny and Arca, for $350 USD, and then for it to have the build quality that it does and the amount of versatility that it does, it's very impressive. Like I said at the beginning of this video, one of the things I'm always looking for is disproportionate value. Like, how can I give you guys best bang for your buck recommendations? And as far as what's available on the market right now, I can't see a whole lot that beats this particular setup. So, hope you guys found that enjoyable and educational, and it helps you make a gear purchase decision moving forward. And as always, thank you for tuning in.